Hey everybody, how's it going? It's the Daily Shooter, and today we're going to be taking a look at something that is really cool. If you like to build your own ARs or just maintain your own rifles, this kit has absolutely everything in it that you're going to need. So today we're going to be taking a look at the Real Avid AR-15 Armor's Master Kit. Let's go and check it out. Okay, so the AR-15 Armor's Master Kit from Real Avid. This again is a really cool kit. It's a complete kit. It has everything that you're gonna need to build, assemble, and maintain your rifle. I mean, there's even stuff in here that I didn't know existed, and now I'm glad I have it. So it's really got a lot of different stuff. We're gonna open it up, we'll take a look at each of the tools, and I'll talk to you guys about what each of them is for, and we'll kind of go over what's here. But this is a kit that I got from MSR Arms. They're one of the few people that actually have these things, and they are in stock. So I will put a link over on my website. If you can't, Google search it or something like that. But my website will be linked down below. You can head over there, and then I will link to this directly from my website so you guys can check it out yourself. But again, it's a really cool kit. Why don't we go ahead and tear this thing off. We'll open it up and I'll show you guys what's inside. Okay, so I had to move this thing over to my other workbench because it's so big that when you open it up, it just doesn't fit on my table that I do a lot of my filming on. So you can see here, it's got a pretty nice case. It's got some cool design elements to it. It says AR-15 Armor's Master Kit on it in raised lettering. It says Real Avid up there on the handle. And as we flip this thing around, you'll see that it does have some metal clips that have this rubberized coating on the top of them right there. You open this thing up, and we'll open it up to the side here so I can show you guys what's inside. And like I said before, it has absolutely everything that you're going to need to be able to put everything together, including this thing right here, which is a lot like the Geissele reaction rod, except the Geissele reaction rod costs about what this kit costs, just the rod itself. So again, it's a pretty good value, and this thing actually does a lot more than the Geissele reaction rod does. I like this one quite a bit more, and I have the Geissele reaction rod. So it's a pretty nice kit. We got all this different stuff. So why don't we go ahead and we'll start on this side, and then we'll work our way over to the bigger tools. Okay, so the first thing I want to show you guys is this MultiTool Hammer, and I'll explain what the hammer is all about here in just a second, but this thing has a lot of different uses. So the first thing that it has on there is going to be your castle nut and your barrel nut wrench. So your castle nut and your barrel nut wrench are going to be located at the end. You have a pretty long handle, so you can get some good torque on that, but you also have this little driver area right here, so you can go ahead and put the driver for your torque wrench in here and get that thing torqued down to the perfect spec, and that's located right there. Now, another nice thing that this has is going to be for installing, let's say, a flash hider muzzle device, so your compensators, flash hiders, things like that. And you would use this front section right here in order to tighten that down. Then it has a slightly smaller section, as you can see right there. That slightly smaller section is for tightening and untightening your rifle length buffer tube. So rifle length buffer tube has this little square nut at the end that would slide right into this, and then you can go ahead and take that off or put that back on just with that little piece right there. Now, this is also a hammer, and what's cool about it is it's a very versatile hammer. So instead of just being a standard hammer with a steel head, this thing actually has several different heads that you can replace. So as you can see here, we have a brass head, and then we have a couple other non-marring heads. We have some that are a little bit more firm than others. So basically it increases in firmness from here, which is kind of like a rubberized head, to a harder plastic head. And then we have this, this one's kind of, I think it's nylon actually. And then this one right here is going to be your brass head. So it increases in the hardness of the material as you go up, and each one of these is interchangeable. So what you do is you just simply unscrew it from here, and then there's a hole in the front of this hammer right here, and then you would screw in the hammer head that you want to use, and now you're good to go. And then let's say you're using the brass one to knock something in where you're not really worried about marring something or destroying something, but then you want to switch over to the lower and you want to hammer something in, you don't want to ruin the finish. You can switch over to one of the non-marring heads, and that's all in this one kit. And the cool thing is it even comes with some extra pieces right here. So basically some extra heads. Once you use this thing a bunch, these heads are probably going to start wearing down, and it's just nice that they give you an extra set. This little tool that's located over the side right here is going to be your pivot pin installer. This thing is awesome. I got to tell you, one of the biggest headaches that you're going to have, if especially if it's your first time installing a pivot pin, spring, and detent, is the fact that those things can go flying all over the place. I mean, if you're trying to hold it in with a flathead screwdriver or your fingernail or something like that, and then you try and get that pivot pin in, and you accidentally let that little detent go, it'll take out an eye or it'll shoot across the room. This thing right here will hold in the pivot pin and detent, and then allow you to install this tool right here. And then this tool, it's a little 3-piece tool, will allow you to rotate it and then put in your pivot pin and then take this thing right out and you'll be good to go. So basically, this allows you to do it without having to worry about losing any of those detents and springs, and now you got to find a new one. If you don't have extra laying around, you're back to the shop. Now, I hope you guys can bear with me because I'm kind of standing at a weird angle and I'm not used to reaching across the camera like this to show you guys stuff. I'm used to working on the other side of the table so that I can show you things more easily. So hang in there, I'm trying to keep my arm out of the frame. But the next tool that we have here is going to be a front sight adjustment tool. Very simple tool. It usually comes with your front sights, but it's nice to have an extra one. And this one right here is aluminum, so this is going to allow you to adjust that front sight post. So we have that. The next thing that I want to show you, I'm going to skip over this. I'll save this for last on this side of the kit. The next thing I want to show you is something that's really cool. This is definitely different than the Vise Block that I'm currently using. So this is going to be your Vise Block. You simply take your lower receiver, you slide it on right here, and it locks into place. Now, if you are working on your lower receiver, and you know if you've been working on them in the past, if you were to put a lower receiver that does not have a mag catch on it yet, then that lower receiver can just slide on and off of this Vise Block. But this one right here, I don't know any other way to describe it. Kind of works like a deodorant canister. So you simply twist this and it will move this little red piece that's inside there. So if you don't have the mag catch installed quite yet and you still want a secure fit, you can go ahead and take this and tighten it down, and you can see that that red thing in there is starting to lower itself inside the Vise Block. What that's doing is, as it's lowering, it's applying pressure to the side of this Vise Block so that it will hold everything in place even without that mag catch installed, so you can work on it, do your pins and everything else. If you maybe, let's say you get a parts kit or some stuff like that and you don't have your mag catch with you yet, but you want to start putting everything together, this is going to hold it in nice and secure, and it's a pretty good block. It's very solid towards the bottom. Obviously at the top it's going to be a little bit different, but I like that. I like the fact that they thought about that and made something that is different than what I've seen in the past. So this is much nicer than the standard black plastic Vise Block that I've been using in the past. So we'll go ahead and we'll sit this in there. We'll worry about that later. It also comes, wow, that popped out nice and easy. Again, reaching across the camera, sorry. This is just going to be a chamber flag indicator, so an empty chamber indicator. You can also use this, since it's that fluorescent green, you can kind of use it as a chamber light. So it's going to allow a little bit of light in, and if you need to work on it, inspect the barrel, things like that, you can go ahead and place this in the barrel and then look down the barrel, and this will give off a little bit of light. So that's pretty cool too. Now this thing is something that I had never heard of. Hopefully I don't go shooting it across the room here. So this thing is something that I'd never heard of. Essentially what you do is you take out your rear takedown pin and you put this inside the lower, from what I understand, and then you slide the takedown pin back through, and this thing right here will actually sit up and hold the upper and lower receivers apart. So it'll kind of hold it in that clamshell position without having to completely remove everything. So if you want to be able to swab out the barrel, you want to be able to work on something, and you don't want to have to worry about the two closing up or taking the whole thing apart, you can just simply put this tool in there and it will basically wedge everything up to the top. Okay, so on to what I would consider to be the main piece on this side of the board. I mean, everything here is cool, but this is a very intricate and very detailed AR-15 bench block. So this thing right here will do just about everything. I mean, it's got a lot to offer. So you can work on your lower receiver here, you can work on your bolt and your bolt carrier group, you can work on your trigger, you can work on a ton of stuff, your gas block and so forth. You can see right here we have that star chamber cut out, so you can put your bolt right there. There's another cutout right here where you could put your bolt, and the cool thing about this is there's even a tool that will allow you to add pressure to the extractor, and that is with this little piece right here. So inside there's that little red piece. I don't know if you guys can see that. Let's see if I can get it closer. Inside there's this little red piece. You can kind of back this out, put in your bolt, and then once your bolt is in, you can go ahead and tighten this down and it will put pressure on that extractor. So I thought that was pretty cool as well. And then we have a bunch of different other tools. You can actually take your lower receiver and the lower receiver will lock in and mount up to this thing. And it's pretty nice. It's got this non-stick siding to it, so it's not going to slip around or slide around. But this is cool because you could do a lot of different things with this. Each one of the things that you can do with it is labeled so that you're not just looking at it wondering what the hell everything is. So again, it's a pretty nice little device right here, and probably one of the most detailed bench blocks that I have seen for an AR-15. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and move over to this side of the kit, and I'm going to show you guys my favorite tool on this side, which happens to be this upper receiver lug lock vise block. So basically this works by inserting this tubular side into your upper receiver, and it gets locked into the barrel of the upper receiver with these little lug locks right here. Then you take this flat part, and this is what goes into your vise. So this keeps everything together, this keeps everything from rotating, but you have this little red piece at the end. This is something different than I've seen on any other tool before. I have a couple different ones, and they get very, very expensive. As a matter of fact, I have one of these that costs probably what this entire kit costs. It's fairly close to what this entire kit costs. But on this one, you have this little red thing in the back right here. You can take this off. So you insert this into your upper receiver, and then you have it locked into your vise. Then you take this little piece right here, and it goes into one of these holes, fits in there like that, and it will keep everything stable and everything from moving. So it's like a little extra additional security when you're installing this. So I think that's pretty cool. It's going to keep anything from coming off or flying forward or moving left and right. It's just a nice little piece that seems to hold everything together pretty well. So I like that. This to me is much better than those plastic clamshells or clamps and things like that, which I've used probably 100 times in the past. This is a much more secure way to do things. Then we also have our torque wrench right here. Let me go ahead and pull this thing out. So we have our torque wrench. Torque wrench to me is essential when you're building, and that's because everything's going to have a different foot-pound that you're going to have to get to. Okay, so like a barrel nut or a castle nut, those are going to have two different torques that you're going to want to reach. On here, where it actually gives you the readout for whatever you're installing, it has a list of the average foot-pounds that you're going to be looking for to install a specific item. So again, if you're installing that gas block, or not gas block, but if you're installing that castle nut, if you're installing the barrel nut, if you are using something that requires you to torque it down, it's going to tell you the average foot-pounds that you're going to need to get to. So it's pretty cool that it has that. These are very easy to use. The driver on it seems pretty nice. It actually feels like a pretty sturdy tool, especially for a kit that gives you this much for the price. Now, if you guys are wondering what this thing is, because I think this is kind of going the way of the dodo for a lot of people, unless you have like an older AR-15, or maybe you have something that's a clone, or one of the more budget brands, you're probably not even going to know what this is. This is for taking off the handguard. So this is basically what is going to take off that D-ring. So you have that little delta ring at the back of your handguard. You have to pull that down in order to separate the handguard in order to get it off. Well, this thing allows you to grab onto that D-ring and then depress the D-ring so that then you can go ahead and take the handguard off. Excuse me, I don't know why I'm losing my words there. But again, this allows you to grip it and pull down, get that D-ring down, and then pop the two pieces off, and then you're good to go to be able to work on everything else. So again, it has so many different tools in here. Okay, so the last thing that we're going to be taking a look at, and the last thing in our kit here, are going to be the punches and our nylon or polymer hooks. I'm not exactly sure what the material is. So the first thing I want to show you guys is something that's actually pretty cool. So we have a couple different types of punches here. We have flat face punches. We also have roll pin punches, which have that little nipple at the top right there, that little igloo at the top. That kind of keeps it centered on your roll pin. So we have a bunch of different sizes and shapes, and we have a nylon one there as well. And then they also have this little tool right here. Now, this looks like just, standard little, it's got like a standard little pincher on it, but this thing is actually intended to hold your little roll pins. So when you have a roll pin, you want to hold it in place. Let's say like you're installing a gas block. You want to install that gas tube onto the gas block. You have a small little roll pin that has to match up with the hole in the gas block. It's a pain in the ass to hold that thing in there. I've used, little pliers before, and they kind of fall to the side and rotate and stuff like that. These will actually hold that little roll pin up and in the right position, so then you could use your punch and kind of knock that thing in there. So I think that that's pretty cool that it has that. So we have our roll pin punches, we have regular punches, we have nylon punches, and then we have all of our hooks and everything else that we're going to need. So again, this is a complete kit. I mean, a complete kit. I could take this kit right here, and as long as I have a little bit of grease, because you're going to need a little bit of either white lithium grease, or some people use aeroshell grease and stuff like that. But if I take this kit here and a little bit of grease, I have everything that I need to put an AR together. That's it. This is all you need. And then once you're done putting everything together, you put this right back into place. It folds together in that really nice case, and you have everything ready to go for your next build. So I thought I would show this to you guys. I like it a lot. I think it's really cool. I think that it's ingenious, some of the different things, the way that they have it set up. And I don't think that they forgot about anything. I mean, you can do everything with this kit. Again, it's going to be available over at MSR Arms. If you guys want to link directly to this, I will put a link to my website down below. And at my website, I will link over to this product so you guys can check it out, or you can just look for MSR Arms and just search for this when you get there. But again, I just think that a lot of people can get into it. It's definitely more expensive than a little small cheap Wheeler kit or something like that you would get off of Amazon, but this is going to be a lot nicer than a Wheeler kit, I can tell you that much. Anyway, I want to thank you all very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Please like, subscribe, and have a great day.